Thank you very much, Sage. Candidates running in 3 contested Republican primaries have joined us tonight to participate in a candidates forum to help you make your decision of who you wish to vote for coming up in the election next Tuesday on March 20th. There are 3 sections of tonight's format. The first will be for the 2 Marion County Treasurers candidates and for state representative, and then for the state Senate candidates. Each candidate will have 3 minutes for opening statements, a minute to answer questions that myself and Dennis Rosenberg of the Salem Times-Commodore have provided, and then we'll do a 2-minute closing section for each of our candidate forum positions tonight. Our forum sponsored by WJBD, WSIQ Radio in conjunction with the Salem Chamber of Commerce and the Salem Theater Board. And I want to thank the theater for allowing us once again to use their facility for our candidates forum tonight. If you're in the area, welcome to stop by the theater and listen to the candidates live, or you can listen on the radio, WJBD FM 100.1. We're ready to go now for the Marion County Treasurer candidates. They have already drawn to determine who will do the first opening statement. And Gary Purcell was our winning drawer there, and he will now proceed with his 3-minute opening statement. Gary?
First of all, I'd like to thank WJBD and the Salem Chamber of Commerce for setting up this candidates forum tonight and everybody in attendance. My name is Gary Purcell. I'm a Republican candidate for Marion County Treasurer. My roots run deep in Marion County. I'm a grandson of 2 Marion County farmers who are always grateful for what they had, their families, their communities, and their churches. Being a graduate of Southern Illinois University at Carbondale, Kaskaskia College, Salem Creighton High School, and St. Teresa's PSR, without all these great teachers, coaches, and mentors, I wouldn't be here tonight. After college, I started working in a family-owned small business. I was surrounded by a mix of real estate developers, construction experts. I also began working at a local real estate office as a sales associate there. In 1998, I bought my first piece of real estate I've ever owned at a surplus property auction conducted by the Marion County trustee. Over time, attending and studying these sales throughout Southern Illinois, I learned about mineral and oil rights with the help of a local oil producer. It turns out Marion County is one of the largest oil producing counties in the state of Illinois. 5 years ago, I started buying tax certificates from the county trustee, and then attending the annual delinquent tax sale conducted by the Marion County trustee as a property tax buyer. The treasurer sells between 800 and 900 parcels each year at the delinquent tax sale. It's probably one of the biggest around here in the surrounding counties. As a tax buyer, with the help of legal and title professionals, I returned over 15 properties back to individual owners and developers for redevelopment, and thousands of dollars in delinquent taxes back to local units of government. The Marion County Board appointed me to the Marion County Housing Authority at a crucial time in its history. The board was able to hire a new director to lead the authority in a positive direction. The Marion County Housing Authority provides safe, affordable, and basic housing to residents. And last year, I'd like to thank the voters of Salem Township for electing me the township clerk. I'm in charge of agendas, meeting minutes, and auditing of the township funds, along with the board of trustees. In summary, my work and board experience combined with my education make me an ideal candidate to be the next Marion County Treasurer. We run this office in a budget-conscious and productive manner.
Thank you very much, Gary Purcell, for your opening comments. We now receive opening comments from Tabitha Metter.
Good evening. My name is Tabitha Metter, and I am seeking the Republican nomination to be the next Marion County Treasurer. I'm a lifelong Marion County resident, having attended both Raccoon Grade School and Salem Community High School. I went on to earn my bachelor's in political science degree from McKendree College. I also participated in the Illinois Legislative Staff Internship Program, where I gained invaluable experience by working at the Illinois State Capitol as a research and appropriations analyst, while earning hours towards a master's degree. In addition to having grown up in a small business family, where the supper table was also the business table, my personal work history includes nearly a decade at Treasured Memory Scrapbook Store and office experience at FMC Water Company, where I process the daily payments. I currently serve as the legislative aide for Representative John Cavaletto, a role that I enjoy immensely. My time in that office has prepared me to serve the people of Marion County. I have helped solve problems for people from all walks of life, and I look forward to bringing that experience to the Marion County Treasurer's Office. Also, I have served 2 terms on the Marion County Board, where I am the Vice Chairman of the Board, Chairman of the County and Community Public Relations Committee, and Board Representative to the South Central Illinois Growth Alliance. Because of my time on the board, I understand how county government functions. I feel that I am a strong leader, and I am not afraid to stand up for what is right for the citizens of Marion County. My experiences combined have provided me with working relationships across all levels of government. Running for Marion County Treasurer is not something I take lightly. It is a huge responsibility to protect the taxpayers' dollars, and I believe I am the most qualified person to do so. Thank you to Bruce and WJBD, WSIQ, the Salem Chamber of Commerce, and the Salem Community Theater for hosting this event. And thank you to all who are either attending or listening this evening.
Thank you, Tabitha. Tabitha, you can stay at the microphone. We'll ask you the first question, and we'll ask each of these questions of both candidates and alternate who goes first so no one has an advantage. First of all, the general question, what inspired you to run for Marion County Treasurer?
I have had a lifelong desire to serve the people in the public sector. Like I said, 6 years ago, I was elected to the county board. I was represent District 4, which is Haynes, Romine, and Haynes, Raccoon, and a portion of Centralia Townships. It's something that when the position came open, I looked at my qualifications and thought I would be a well fit for that office, and it's been a lifelong desire to be able to serve the people of Marion County.
Thank you very much, Tabitha Metter. Next answer to the question comes from Mr. Purcell.
I decided to run for the office because of my real estate background. As a real estate agent, I learned about real estate transactions. As a tax buyer, I learned about the different process to go for a tax deed. I've even been to the Board of Appeals and filled assessments before. So there's a lot of things that I've done there that inspired me to go for this job. And I really like to represent the people of Marion County at this job.
All right, thank you, Gary. And you can stay at the microphone. You'll have the first answer to the next question. And it is, what changes do you want to see made within the Treasurer's Office?
Changes. There's a couple changes I look at, and it would depend on the budget too. And then once I got in the position to see if they would be cost effective. The first change I'd like to do with the delinquent tax auction is maybe switch it to a computerized sale. I've been to several in the surrounding counties. It's a clean, efficient auction. There's no chance for conflict. Then gives you a chance to sell more properties. And the other thing is I might look into selling the mobile home taxes at that sale also, instead of the lien process. And the only other thing is just look at the office and see about what else it might need.
All right, thank you, Harry Purcell. Tabitha Metter has the next answer to the question.
First of all, I'd have to get into the office to be able to see the day-to-day workings of the office to know what changes may need to be made. But I'm sure in the day and age that we live in that there will be some technological advances made, whether that be taxes online or things of that nature. But I think maybe technology, just keeping up with the time, would be something that I would see as a change.
Thank you, Tabitha, and stay at the microphone, and we'll have the answer to the next question. Both of you, in some of the advertising you've done, have referred to a balanced budget for the county. Could you elaborate on your plans of what you see the treasurer's role is in trying to keep a balanced budget?
Well, I believe as the gatekeeper of the money for county that the treasurer should be the leader in being able to maintain a balanced budget, and I know Patty has done a good job at that, and working with her in the county board. Like I said, I would have to get into the office to maintain the daily costs incurred as well as anything with the county.
All right, thank you, Tabitha. Gary Purcell has the next answer to the question.
As far as a balanced budget, I have to get in the office and see what all's going on. I just want to be budget conscious. Every decision I make, I want to make sure it's best for the county and the taxpayers. And any future moves we make in the office, I want to make sure they're cost effective.
Thank you, Gary. Gary, just stay at the microphone and we'll ask you the next question. And it is, what makes you feel that you are the best candidate for Marion County Treasurer?
Well, the reason I'm the best candidate for Marion County Treasurer, working in small business, I've had to deal with budgets, planning, customers, and a lot of that goes on in the Treasurer's office also. Plus, I've worked in real estate. I've done the tax buying, where we've had to do a lot of different legal things in there. And I just think that those things are important combined together to be the next Marion County Treasurer.
All right, thank you, Gary. Tabitha Metter has the next response.
I feel that I'm the best candidate for Marion County Treasurer due to my roles that I've played in government, whether that be with the county board and seeing the negotiations and budget issues that have incurred with the county board, or whether that be with my work with Representative Cavaletto. As his legislative aide, I work with the public on a day-to-day basis. Many times people will come in with issues and problems that they need solved, and I have created an office to where I'm basically the go-between between the person and the state agency. Now that would be different in the treasurer's office, but I believe that I am well capable of being able to listen to the taxpayer, to the constituent, and get them the best answer within the law that allows.
Thank you, Tabitha, and you'll have the next answer to this question. There's a variety of duties in the county treasurer's office, and obviously you're going to be taking over for someone who's going to be leaving the position. Do you have a plan, if elected, of how you would learn the position and work with outgoing treasurer on?
Well, I hope to have a good working relationship with Patty that hopefully prior to say after the election, but prior to being sworn in, that I would be able to look into the office and learn as to what's going on, and then be able to carry over likely some of the things that she has, just for a smooth transition, because it is big shoes to fill. She's done a quite nice job in the last 20 years, so I hope that the transition will be a smooth one.
All right, thank you, Tabitha, for your answer to that question. And the next answer comes from Gary Purcell. Okay, there's a variety of duties in the county treasurer's office. If elected, when would you be eligible to start the learning process in the county treasurer's office, and how would you handle that process of taking over from treasurer on?
I'd be ready right away. I'd be glad to work with her and her employees. I've talked to other office holders who said their employees are their greatest asset, so. And I'd be glad to work with her on that and go from there. And once I get in there, I can evaluate the situation better and see what might need to be done, or change to suit me, and see how everything works.
All right, thank you very much, Gary Purcell. And we'll move on to the closing statement now, statements from our candidates. And Tabitha Metter will have our first 2-minute closing statement this evening.
Once again, I would like to thank Bruce and WJBD, WSIQ, the Salem Chamber of Commerce, and the Salem Community Theater for hosting this forum, and to all of you who have joined us this evening. I, Tabitha Metter, am ready to step up into a leadership position to make Marion County a better place to live and work. My background in public service will provide a strong foundation that will help me build a better treasurer's office. My dad, Larry, instilled in me a strong work ethic and desire to serve the people. Everything I have done in my life has built upon each other to bring me where I am today. From working at the state capitol and analyzing the budgets of the constitutional offices, to working at the water company and processing the payments, To my volunteer service as treasurer of various organizations, as well as my work with Representative Cavaletto and the Marion County Board, I look forward to bringing all of this to the Marion County Treasurer's Office. I am ready to tackle the challenges that lie ahead and will be the fiscal watchdog the taxpayers of Marion County deserve. Remember, please vote Tabitha Metter for Marion County Treasurer in the Republican primary on Tuesday, March 20th.
Thank you very much, Tabitha Meadow. Gary Purcell has the final closing statement.
I'm in this race to represent the hardworking people of Marion County. With support from my friends, family, and supporters, they gave me the confidence to run for this office. My participation in the Treasurer's tax payment plan, trustee surplus auctions, delinquent tax sales have provided me with invaluable knowledge of this position. Being a tax buyer in a real estate agent has given me a great understanding of real estate transactions, the tax deed process, and the appeals of property to the board review. The unknown about this office is my best asset because I can bring a new perspective to this office. My work in business has shown me the importance of maintaining a budget, planning, paperwork, managing employees, and taking care of customers. My mix of knowledge in business, real estate, and government positions makes me a great candidate to be the next Marion County Treasurer. On March 20th, when you go to the polls, know your vote will make a difference. Vote for Gary L. Purcell, Marion County Treasurer.
Thank you, Gary, for your closing statement. Let's give both candidates a big hand. We're listening to the WJBD WSIQ Candidates Forum, co-sponsored with the Salem Chamber of Commerce and the Salem Theater Board. We are going to take a 3-minute break and get reorganized for our state representative portion of the forum. And for those in the audience who want to step out, I think there's some refreshments out in the lobby, and we'll be ready to go back here in about 3 minutes.
Well,
Blaine, you want to come on up? Good. You said he's in the restroom? Okay. I don't think Laura is here. Laura's here, please come down.
We don't have games on that.
Blaine, you want to come on up on the stage here? And St. George, we're ready if you want to send it back, whatever.
I think she would.
And welcome back to the Salem Community Theater, the site of tonight's WJBD WSIQ Candidates Forum in conjunction with the Salem Chamber of Commerce and the Salem Theater Board. We just heard from the Marion County Treasurer candidates. We will now hear from the State Representative candidate Blaine Wilhauer. I got a note this morning from Laura Myers, the other candidate. She was unable to rearrange things. We sort of got very late notice because I sent the invitation to the wrong address. I didn't realize that until the weekend. So Laura thought she was going to be here, but then I got a note this morning she was not going to be able to be present tonight. So Blaine will be giving us a 3-minute statement for opening, and then we'll ask him some questions and give him a chance to do a closing statement as well. So Blaine Wilhauer, your 3-minute opening statement.
Thanks, Bruce. Thanks to the Chamber, WJBD Radio. Appreciate the opportunity to be here tonight. I'm Blaine Wilhauer. I'm a farmer from Fayette County, and I'm a small business owner from Effingham County. And my message in this campaign has been consistent from day one. We need reform. Illinois is broken. We're in a moral and a fiscal death spiral. And I think that we need to start sending tough political outsiders to Springfield. People that have the courage and the convictions to stand up to the politicians, the bureaucrats, and the special interests that are basically driving Springfield into the ground. And I'm the one in this race that has the credibility to fight for reform in Springfield. I'm not endorsed and I'm not supported by the biggest opponents of reform in the state of Illinois. I've spent my entire career in the private sector. I've been part of starting a business from scratch. I've won in the real economy. I'm the only one in this race that's actually created a job. And, there's something to be said for that, for sure. I know how to do it, I've done it, and I think that's the kind of people we need to start sending to Springfield.
Thank you, Blaine, for your opening statement, and we'll now move on to the question and answer period. And as before, some of these questions are from myself, some are from Dennis Rosenberger at the Salem Times-Counter, and Dennis is working on a deadline on a story, so he likes us to put me up here on stage. Anyway, so let's start with one of the questions from Dennis. What do you feel the state legislature can do to make Illinois a more attractive destination for businesses and industries?
Yeah, that's a big part of my campaign. We grow the economy here by attracting investment. We're not competitive with the states around us. The biggest thing that I think that we need here is workers' compensation reform. We're spending on average 34% more for workers' comp here than they are in the states around us. And in the manufacturing sector, we're spending twice as much as Indiana. So workers' compensation reform, comprehensive property tax reform is big. Over the last 8 years, property taxes have grown 6 times faster than the median household income. That's not a good situation, and it's not sustainable. What businesses want to see for investment is stability and a pro-growth environment. And I think that, workers' compensation is huge, regulatory reform is definitely huge on that as well.
Thank you, Blaine. And going a step further, Wallet Hub this week said Illinois had the highest overall tax rate from state and local taxes of any state in the country, and 38% more than the average for those who had an average household income compared to other states. Top with that, obviously the state's been losing population. For an individual, how do you turn that around? How do you make Illinois an attractive state to be?
Yeah, it's tough for a Republican in the state with Madigan in control. I'm not naive about the situation, but the biggest thing that I see in this thing is we can't continue to try to tax and borrow our way out of this situation. We have to grow the economy, and we have to control our spending. I'm a firm believer that politicians can't be trusted to rein in their own spending. I'm a proponent of a tough spending cap that ties the growth of government to the growth of the economy. That'll keep things reasonable and sustainable, And then that'll bring people to the table for reform, and then we can start talking about the real budgeting priorities, the things that we really need to fund.
Can you cut back the income tax increase that was put into effect last year?
Yeah, I think that we can. I think that's something that we have to do, because the bottom line is, just like I said before, we can't tax our way out of this situation. We have to grow the economy, but we're not going to be able to grow the economy without some significant structural reforms that will attract investment back to this state. The higher taxes, higher regulations, out of control workers' comp will not draw investment to this state, and that's the only path forward to funding the things that we need to fund.
And Blaine, the shortage of teachers has cropped up and has been pretty well talked about in the last couple of months among local school districts here, especially in certain high school professions, simply not having the flow of teachers anymore. Do you have any thoughts on how we can address that situation?
Yeah, teaching's a tough job, especially this day and age, where we have real cultural problems in our communities, so basically we've taken a lot of the abilities to discipline away from teachers, and that's part of what's made in an unattractive situation. And also the Tier 2 pension system's not a good deal for teachers. We need pension reform that's fair. Basically the Tier 2 people are subsidizing the Tier 1 people with less benefits. So that's another problem. But it's also an opportunity, because we have too much government in this state. We have almost the same amount of school districts as California, but we're serving a million plus students. It's an opportunity to think about some smart consolidations here, and that way we wouldn't have to be eliminating so many teacher positions.
And how would you go about the consolidation process? Is it time to force other districts to do it, or what kind of incentives would you offer?
Yeah, that's a tough one. That's when it starts getting emotional for people. There's a lot of things out there on that. I mean, we've got 7,000 units of government in Illinois. It's way too much. It's 2,000 more than Texas and California. So we've got too many government bodies. They're all taxing too much, and that's driving up our property taxes and everything else. But yeah, as far as the consolidations go, we may need to look at putting a commission together, something like what they've done for the defense-based closures, commissions that would put forward recommendations to the General Assembly for a straight up or down vote. I think that would be a good idea. It would take some of the emotions out of it, and I think in the long run, we would be able to better serve our students, and we would be able to better take care of our teachers.
And extending the question a little bit further, school funding, there was an effort to reform that last year, and now bills being moved through the legislature that would actually provide the opportunity to implement that funding change. Is that enough for schools, or are schools funded adequately with this new formula?
I think the simple answer to that is no. The education funding formula is probably a good idea. It's a good start, but I think it's a case in point of politicians making moves just to make themselves look good while avoiding tough policy decisions. We've got this new funding formula, but we don't have any money to fund it. If we want to get serious about adequately funding schools, then we're going to have to look at making some of these tough choices. That's reducing the number of districts, and thereby reducing the administrative load, because that's where a lot of the problem is. And also in that education funding bill, it has a terrible provision in there that basically bails out the Chicago Public Schools pension fund without attaching any strings to it for any real reform on it. Basically, the taxpayers are just bailing it out. We can't just continue to throw dollars at education and expect things to get better. We already spend more per student than any of the states around us. What we need is reform on where that money goes. Most of that extra money right now is going to pensions and administrative costs.
And Another issue that has unfortunately become quite the topic is guns, and especially some of the shootings in schools, which has driven a number of bills in the legislature right now for further gun control. Your thoughts on the best way to handle the gun violence situation?
Yeah, ever since Eve ate the forbidden fruit, there's been evil in the world, and that's what this is. It's pure, unadulterated evil. My heart goes out to the families. It really does. That's a terrible situation. I can't imagine myself in it. But banning guns is unrealistic. It's unconstitutional, and it's just not. It's counterproductive. It's the wrong conversation. The conversation we need to be having is, how do we keep our kids safe at school? All right, that's the conversation that we need to be having. We've done a pretty effective job of it in, airports, sporting venues, concerts, so how do we keep the kids safe at school? That's the focus. If our focus is there, I think we can be productive.
All right, and as far as other gun laws are concerned, the city of Chicago obviously is always pushing for tougher controls. The governor says he's going to has actually now vetoed legislation to set up the state's own gun registry program. Are there any gun control bills that you think would be effective in helping, or are you happy with the laws as they are now?
I think we got plenty of regulations on the books now, and I just think that's a wrong focus. We cannot continue to make knee-jerk reactions on a lot of these issues. We need to put our focus on how do we keep kids safe in school.
And let's talk for a minute about the drug problem. The opioid epidemic, or pandemic, depending on who you talk to, has hit the area. Some statistics released at the Marion County board meeting last night indicated for every 100 people in Marion County in the past couple of years, they've had 138 prescriptions for opioids, which is 1 1/3 prescriptions for every person in the county. How do we address this problem? I mean, that's the legal side of it. Then we have the heroin problem, which is the illegal side of this. What can be done to try and help solve this two-headed problem?
Yeah, the opioid problem and the drug problem in general, I think, is more of a cultural problem than a political problem. I understand, about the prescription opioids and how that's a problem. How I think as a legislator that you can be most effective on an issue like this is having a good relationship with law enforcement and the state's attorneys there, and getting them what they need, because they're the experts on how to do this. And I've got, a great relationship with the, Effingham County Sheriff. I'm endorsed by the Fayette County Sheriff, Chris Smith, and, I'm getting to know these other people here. And, I think that we got to tackle problems like that as a team, sometimes legislatively is not the best way to do that. Obviously, if we get the opportunity to do something legislatively where we can make a difference in conjunction with those guys, that would be good, and I'd be all for that.
And as far as looking at the cannabis situation, which I guess is sort of an extension of the same question, there's been quite a bit of talk about legalizing small amounts of cannabis. Your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I'm absolutely against 100% legalizing recreational drugs. I've seen it in my own community with people that I've grown up with, it's just a little pot or whatever. And it's a stepping stone drug. It is. I mean, it's not for everybody, but almost everybody who has a drug problem started with marijuana. And approaching this from the standpoint of raising revenue, I think is an absolute joke. Considering that most of the people up in Springfield have no interest in pushing the real kind of reforms that will actually raise revenue.
And term limits is another issue that has come up. Your thoughts on that? And would you put term limits on yourself if there wasn't any legal term limit legislation passed?
Yeah, term limits is one of the platforms of my campaign, limiting vulnerability to career politicians. Career politicians are a problem. I'm 100% for term limits, I'm for fair maps, and I'm for ending legislative pensions. Term limit's 8 years for myself. I'm on record. I'm on on record for that. We need to, you know, keep new blood in there. This is public service. Public service is important to me. You know, whether it's just serving in the community, serving in the church. You know, I served in the Army, so it's, you know, it's something that's very important to me, and I think that we need to do that. But I think if we ended legislator pensions, it might go a long way towards term limits as well.
All right, and concerning the agriculture in the state of Illinois, anything the state can do there, you think, to help farmers, especially young farmers, get a foothold?
The biggest thing the state can do to help agriculture is to get out of the way a little bit, to be honest with you. Agriculture is a very highly regulated situation, and, you know, we could, them getting out of the way on regulations would help more than anything else. I as a farmer don't want to be any more dependent on the government than I already am, and I don't trust the politicians I basically don't trust them to come in and, you know, make any sort of reforms in our current political situation. You know, I am a farmer. I'm endorsed by the Farm Bureau. I'm proud of that. So I do have some knowledge on the situation. But yeah.
And it's likely that you will be in the minority in the House if elected. How do you work with the Democratic majority? And you already mentioned Michael Madigan by name. He obviously is going to be there. How do the Republicans effectively deal and pass legislation in a minority situation?
Yeah, that's the toughest thing, and that's the toughest question that you generally get. How do you fight Mike Madigan up there? The first thing that we got to do is we got to make sure that we're strong and we're unified, especially in southern Illinois. You know, these are areas that we can be extremely strong. You know, these are conservative areas, so we need to act like it. But we've got to be able to work with people, and we've got to be able to work through the agencies and anywhere where we can, you know, circumvent, you know, Madigan and the Democrats as much as possible. We've got to be savvy like that, you know. And I've got business experience. I know how to get things done. You know, I know my way around on coalition building and that kind of stuff. And I think that's the stuff that we need to work on.
In the governor's race, Governor Rauner's come under a lot of fire for his handling of the abortion legislation to give state employees and those on Medicaid access to money for abortions. Your thoughts on that, and would you work to change that law?
Yeah, that situation absolutely disgusts me about the governor. I am 100% pro-life. You know, I always have been. I've worked in that movement. I've marched on Washington, D.C. as part of that movement, and that's absolutely detestable for me. People should not have to support things that they are legitimately, morally objective to. And yes, given the opportunity to reverse HB 40, I'd do it in a heartbeat.
And do you think that would be a major issue for you? Is that a top priority, or how would you rate that?
Yeah, it is absolutely. Traditional values are an absolute priority to me. You know, I don't want to diminish them whatsoever. But what we really need to do is get the economy going. You know, so that's the main reason that I'm going out there.
And if elected, would you be a full-time representative?
What's that mean?
Would you have other side businesses that you would
Right, absolutely. This is a part-time job, you know. That's how it was designed constitutionally. Now I know that you're never off duty in a job like this. But yeah, no, I'm going to continue running my business. I got a construction company up in Effingham County. I'm going to continue to do that. I think it's important that legislators be tied to the economy, you know, to know what's going on the ground. You know, I experienced a workers' compensation situation, you know, every day in my job. You know, how I'm getting those checks and all that. And if I was doing this as a full-time job, you wouldn't get that. I understand the time that it takes. I've got a great family support system. We're going to be able to work that out, but I am absolutely committed to being part of my business going forward too. I think that we need citizen legislators. That's what this system is designed for, especially in the House, where normal people, normal citizens can go up there and legislate.
Whoever wins this race will replace John Capoletto, who is a Salem resident and had his office in Salem. And I know there's been some concern with both candidates on the Republican Party and the Democratic candidate all being from far away from Marion County as you can get in the district. How do you plan to serve the residents of Marion County?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, we're going to have a presence down here. You know, we've made a priority to Marion County in this campaign. I'm actually from Fayette County, not Effingham County. You know, I can be down here in a half hour. I can be to Centralia in an hour. You know, I feel like I'm in a pretty good place in the district, right where I am. I'm basically right between Effingham and Vandalia there. But yeah, I mean, we'll represent the whole district. We're not that dissimilar. The issues on growing the economy here are the same issues, you know, up in Effingham or over in Vandalia or over in Greenville or, you know, Centralia or wherever.
Okay. Well, thank you very much for answering a whole lot of questions rapid fire. A little different than how we usually do these.
I should have brought some water.
But we will give you time now to do a 2-minute close to sort of wrap things up for this evening.
Yeah, thanks to WJBD and the Chamber once again. I got into this race because I was tired of sitting on the sidelines and watching as the politicians and the bureaucrats in Springfield squandered all of our advantages and opportunities. Because if you look at Illinois and you look at the states around us, we have the advantages. We have the advantages in terms of geography, natural resources, logistical capabilities, and workforce. We should be economic giants in the Midwest, but we're not. You know, we're not even close. We've had generations of failed policy and failed politicians, and they broke Illinois. I'm not a politician. I'm a businessman. You know, I know how to push for the kind of stable environment and the economic growth environment that'll turn the state around. You know, and I'm not afraid to get down in the trenches and roll up the sleeves and fight hard for reform. That's what you'll get from me. You'll get a fighter. And, you know, and I'm proud to be endorsed in this campaign by great organizations like the Illinois Farm Bureau, the Illinois Chamber of Commerce, the Illinois Federation for Right to Life, and the Illinois Family Institute. These organizations have endorsed me because they know that I'm a fighter. And they know that I will go up there and I will fight for our shared values. And, you know, thanks again to the Chamber, WJBD. You know, if you want a candidate that is pro-growth, pro-reform, and pro-opportunities, I'm your guy in this race. And I'd appreciate your support. I appreciate your vote on March the 20th, this Tuesday in the primary, and thank you so much.
Thank you, Blaine Wilhauer. Let's give him a hand for his words this evening. And we are going to take a 3-minute break and reorganize and have all 4 of our Senate candidates who are here with us tonight come up to the theater platform, the stage, and we'll be ready to go with that section of our program tonight in 3 minutes. And welcome back to the Salem Theater in downtown Salem, the site of our candidates forum tonight on WJBD, WSIQ Radio. And sponsored by the Salem Chamber of Commerce as well as the Salem Theater Board, which is very kind to let us use the facility for our candidates forum. It's also a chance for everybody to get the look around the theater and realize that there's a lot going on here and plans for expansion in the near future. Our candidates for State Senate are Raphael Kim, who drew number 1, Ben Stratemeyer, who will be our second speaker tonight, Jason Plummer, our number 3 speaker, and George Barber will be our number 4 speaker, and then we'll reverse that for the closing statements. Our first 3-minute open this evening comes from Raphael Kim. Raphael?
Good evening. My name is Raphael Kim, and I'm asking for your vote tonight. And I want to earn your vote. This is the 3rd time I've gotten first, so hopefully Tuesday I'm first as well. But what I want to talk about tonight is Friday I took my family to go vote. I have 3 daughters and my wife. And every time each one of my daughters came of age to vote, they've been able to vote for their father. And it kind of threw me back to my time in the military. I spent 22 years in United States Air Force, where I served in combat and peacetime, in multiple operations around the world. And it made me think, all the sacrifice that our family and other military families have gone through has been worthwhile. Because I can remember my two little ones, when I would come back home after long deployment, they would scream. They didn't know who I was. They're like, who's this strange guy coming to hug us? And I remember my oldest daughter, she used to send, we had tapes back then, so she used to send tapes of, I'm proud, trying to sing, I'm proud to be an American. And it hit really hard that day. And that's why I'm running for state senate. Not only for my children, my daughters, who I want them to be strong, independent women, but also want other children, and all of our children, to have a future in our state. We have a great state, great resources, and great people, and that's why I retired in Illinois and stayed here. But we've taken God out of our society, and that's what has hurt our government. We've put the lives of the unborn, we've made taxpayers pay for abortions. It's one of the most horrible things you can ever do, whatever side of the aisle you stand with that. We have to repeal HB 40. We also put illegal aliens above American citizens. We can't do that. I'm a son of a legal alien. My father came here in search of hope and opportunity, and he's given that to his two sons. And that's why I continue to serve my nation and promote Americanism wherever I go. And if we come together as Americans and promote our way of life, there's no reason we should stay in this mess that our politicians have created. And that's why I'm asking for your vote on March 20th. I'm not going to take a pension, and I'm not just talking just to talk, because I'm on the Clinton County Board right now, and I'm not taking a pension on there, so you can check the records for that. I'm also going to term limit myself. I'm going to do four terms if I get the honor to be elected. And I'm going to promote ideas that are going to keep people in Illinois. I'm the only politician the only one running that's been elected, beaten a Democrat, governed, balanced four budgets, and helped my county be debt-free in 2017. Thank you, and vote for him on March 20th.
Thank you, Raphael Hemp, for your 3-minute opening statement. Ben Stratemeyer has our next 3-minute opening statement.
I want to thank the Salem Chamber for sponsoring this, and WJBD, Bruce, and the Salem Theater. My name is Bean Counter Ben Stratemeyer. I'm a CPA. I help people reduce their taxes every day. I have lived my entire adult life, working life, in Marion County. I've been married for 28 years. I have 2 beautiful daughters, and they are off in college. This is a good time for me and my family to run for office. I'm a small businessman. I'm a member of the Centralia Rotary, Centralia Chamber, and I'm a deacon on Calumet Street Christian Church. Been a deacon for 22 years. My conservative platform is very simple. It's 1-2-TRN. 1 stands for the First Amendment. It's the freedom of religion, the expression that applies to right to life. HB 40 is a travesty to the state, and it's disgusting. 2 stands for the Second Amendment. I'm a proud supporter of the Second Amendment, lifetime member of the NRA. The TRN stands for Tax Relief Now. No matter what we say or do, whether we talk about our programs and issues in the state of Illinois, until the fiscal house is restored, all programs, issues are in jeopardy. The property taxes are out of control. We have too many taxing districts, and in fact, our system is set up is that the taxpayer does not stand a chance in controlling their property tax. The income tax is out of control. The regulations for businesses in the state of Illinois are out of control. I moved to Centralia as a young man to work at Rockwell. I worked at North American Lighting, and I bring an experience of industrial corporate experience, small business experience, and government experience. I've worked as a part-time finance director for the city of Salem here, and I also serve on South Central Transit. So I have government experience and work with people across the aisle. We've balanced budgets, lowered our costs, and reduced debt. It can be done. All it takes is a little discipline, cooperation, and good communication. Thank you.
Thank you, Ben Stratemeyer, for your opening statement. Jason Plummer has the next 3-minute opening statement.
I'd like to thank everybody for being here. I'm Jason Plummer, candidate for State Senate. I'd like to thank WJBD, the Chamber, and Theater Board for hosting this. I think events like this are important. We need more people engaged in the governmental process. We need more people poking and prodding candidates to learn, where do they really stand and have they consistently been on those issues. And I'm a proud conservative running for State Senate because I think Southern Illinois needs an effective voice in Springfield. I talk about this all the time. We do events all the time. We had a breakfast this morning at Sharon's Cafe in Salem. We had an event tonight at Pizza Man in Salem. We do events constantly. We were in Vandalia this afternoon, meeting and greeting people because, the politicians in Springfield don't have the answers. The answers are out here throughout the state of Illinois with the people that are working jobs, people that are starting businesses, people that are graduating school, and they have ideas, and they see their neighbors, they see their classmates, they see the state of Illinois. They see our geographic location and our access to transportation networks and our assets and natural resources and workforce and educational institutions. And then they open the newspaper and they see businesses leaving. They see moving vans parked in front of their neighbors' houses that are leaving the state. They see the state of Illinois ranked at the bottom of the barrel in almost every job creation economic indicator out there. And there's no reason for it. We have everything we would want as a state, except we have very bad public policy. And if we're going to fix the problems that are plaguing Southern Illinois, we have to create quality jobs for the people of Southern Illinois. And the opportunity to do that is there. We just have to send people to Springfield that understands what it takes to create quality jobs, and also people that know what drive quality jobs out of Illinois. I'm a businessman. My family has RP Lumber Company. We have locations throughout Illinois. We've created jobs for over 1,000 families in the state of Illinois. I know what it takes to create jobs in Illinois, and I know what we need to do in Springfield to do that. But it's important that we send effective voices to Springfield. People that have a long track record of battling for these issues, fighting for these issues. I've served in numerous capacities. I was a lieutenant governor nominee in 2010 with Bill Brady. And the things I talked about in 2010 are the same, in 2010, are the same things I'm talking about today. Jobs, ethics, taxes. We can turn this around, but we've lost a decade. We've lost businesses, we've lost families, we've lost jobs, we've lost tens of billions of dollars of tax dollars. We've seen our property taxes go through the roof, people being priced out of their homes by property taxes. Businesses see their income taxes. We need someone to go to Springfield that will say, I'm going to fight to repeal the income tax increase. I'm going to fight to cap and freeze and eventually lower your property taxes. We also need to send someone to Springfield that represents the values of Southern Illinois. I'm proud to be endorsed by the Illinois Federation for Right to Life, the Illinois Family Institute, the Illinois Chamber of Commerce, and a lot of other conservative organizations because I will be an effective voice in Springfield on the traditional social values that we care about and on the business values that we need to drive jobs in Southern Illinois. Thank you.
Thank you, Jason Plummer, for your 3-minute opening statement. George Barber has our next 3-minute opening.
Thank you, Bruce. My name is George Barber. I'm from Greenville, Illinois. Thank you to WJBD and the Greater Salem Area Chamber of Commerce for having us. I'm humbled and thankful to be here. And I've been at Greenville, living in the district for 20 years. I've been coaching college basketball. I have not been a political candidate before, so therefore I am clean. We have 5 children. We've raised our 5 children in the district. The district has been great to us. We'd like to give back to the district. As I'm making calls and I'm meeting people, which has been the greatest part of campaigning, getting out and meeting the people, just to quickly go over the issues, we're all going to be very similar, but I am pro-life, I am for term limits, and I would like to repeal HB 40. I want to back up. I would like to repeal HB 40 if elected. I'm pro-life, and I would like to call for, our budget is in a difficult situation. We haven't been able to balance it for years. I'd like to call for a debt affordability study. So this is the biggest issue that I'd like to get on the table. This debt affordability study would allow us to see where we have waste in our state, trim some of that waste, and then be able to take care of the things we need to take care of, like education, like our most vulnerable citizens, like our infrastructure. So that's one of the biggest things I'm going to call for. I am pro-Second Amendment, as these people are, and I will never vote to raise your taxes, especially for a government that has proven to not be responsible with your money. The Republicans, John Cavaletto and those that have been serving us, have done a great job. It's a difficult task. We're sort of in damage control situation constantly, not having the upper hand in Springfield. They've done a great job. We'd like to continue the fight. But I always talk about with my team, I like to see a 20-year return. People ask me, how was your team this year? We did win. We've won the last several years. But while they're asking me about my record, I say, I really don't know how successful we've been until 20 years after my young men graduate. Are they good husbands? Are they good fathers? Are they good employees? Those are the things we're looking for. So as I think about going to Springfield, that's what I'm looking for, is how are we going to be in 20 years? What policies are we going to put in place that will get our state in a healthy place in 20 years? So I appreciate your vote on March the 20th as well.
Thank you, George Barber. We'll now begin the question and answer portion of the program tonight, and we'll start with Raphael Him with the first answer to the first question. Most likely, you're going to be a Southern Illinois Republican in a minority situation in the Senate. How do you get things done? What's your plan of action to actually be a voice for the region and be effective in getting things done?
Reach out to the people like President Trump does. We have to reach across the aisle and show that conservative ideas work. That conservative ideas are the best way forward, and they promote economic growth, they promote prosperity, and that's what we need to show the other side. I've been able to do that on the Clinton County Board. Again, we're debt-free. I work across the aisle with the Democrats. We work together. We work in conjunction for the good of the people, and that's why I'm serving the Clinton County Board. That's why I'm running for state senate, is to serve the people, not my self-interest.
Thank you, Raphael. Our next answer to the question comes from Ben Stratemeyer.
Being in the minority, we have to be realistic that we're not going to push very many ideological change. But however, what we can do is look at where there's common interest. It's not a Republican or Democrat when we face an opiate problem here in Southern Illinois or here in Marion County. It's not a Republican or Democrat issue when we are looking at jobs leaving. So there are a lot of issues that Southern Illinois Republicans and Southern Illinois Democrats can work together on to move our region forward. It's not a Republican or Democrat issue when we want to put our coal miners back to work here in Southern Illinois. In fact, a lot of Southern Illinois Democrats want this. So there's a lot of areas where Republicans and Democrats can actually work together to accomplish some goals.
Thank you, Ben Stratemeyer. The next answer to the question comes from Jason Plummer.
I think there's an opportunity to have a lot of success and a lot of impact in Springfield. You just have to send people there that are effective. And what I mean by that is we have examples in Southern Illinois. You know, you take John Cavaletto, state rep, right? He co-sponsored a bill with Brandon Phelps in Southern Illinois on the Second Amendment issue. That's a Republican and Democrat working together. So you have to send people to Springfield that can work together on bills. I'm proud to be endorsed by folks like State Senator Dave Luchtefeld, who got a lot done in Springfield as a Republican, but he could work together with folks. You also have to understand that not everything happens through the legislative process. You have to send people to Springfield that can be effective and work with the state agencies, work through the bureaucracy, work with the different departments of the state to make sure your district has a voice. So you're getting state government and local government working together. And that's my commitment, is to get government working together on behalf of the people. People like John Cavaletto and Dave Luchtefeld, Frank Watson have shown that you can do that in Southern Illinois. And as a businessman, you know, you have to make sure everyone's happy if you're going to succeed as a businessman, and that's how I'm going to work in Springfield. Thank you.
Thank you, Jason Plummer. George Barber has the final answer to the question.
When you're on a high school basketball team, everybody is from the same town, same culture. But when you coach college basketball, you bring people in from many different states, many different backgrounds. So I always say you have to cross-pollinate. You have to work very hard at it. It's one of the most difficult things that I do with my team, to build my team from different backgrounds and different cultures. We have a rule that no one eats alone. So if you see somebody at the cafeteria that's by themselves, you go over, you sit with them, or you bring them to your table. I've been endorsed by some groups. In fact, being on a college campus is one of the most liberal places you could ever find anywhere. So I'm always working with people from across the aisle. I've been endorsed by a group that, if you look at the endorsements, it's DDDDD, and then an R, DDDDDR, DDR. So not very many Republicans were endorsed, and I think there was just one item out of 12 that I agreed with them on, but I guess the way I did it was convincing enough for them to support me. So I do think I can work with, across the aisle, work with the Democrats to get things accomplished, and certainly that's what we need to do to move forward in Springfield.
Thank you very much, George Barber. Next question, Ben Stratemeyer has the first answer to, and it deals with school funding. There's been changes in school funding. Are schools being adequately funded, and should consolidation become an issue to cut administrative costs?
Southern Illinois schools, and particularly local schools, really are not adequately funded. The new school funding formula took a big step in that direction. One of the issues we have in Southern Illinois is a declining population migration. That raises our property tax. It puts a lot of pressure on our school systems to have the adequate programs. If you're asking is, should schools be consolidated? Yes, there are a lot of opportunities for school consolidation. I think when we see our numbers, a lot of our school administration cost is pretty high in Southern Illinois per capita student compared to the cost of teaching. We can do a lot more in school funding, but we can also lower our overall costs that will allow more money back into the classroom so that students can get the education that they need.
Thank you, Ben Stratemeyer. Jason Plummer has the next answer to a question.
Well, what we're doing in Southern Illinois is we're harming our children, and we're really causing problems for them to be able to succeed when they graduate. You know, there's a teacher who I know in St. Elmo's, a chemistry teacher, that doesn't have Bunsen burners in their class. And when you don't have Bunsen burners in your class because of funding issues, that's a big problem. The last school funding, the education funding bill, was actually just a big bailout for Chicago on the backs of people of Southern Illinois. And we have to quit bailing out Chicago with Southern Illinois tax dollars. We need to make sure that our schools are properly funded. Our schools don't get near the per capita spending that Chicago gets. And so you have to send someone to Springfield that will address that issue. On top of that, the bureaucracy is too big. We have to cut back on the bureaucracy and make sure that our money, and we know there's plenty because we see our property tax bills, we have to make sure that our money is going to the classroom and to the students and not to administration and bureaucracy. We have to be arming our children with the skills and the knowledge they need to succeed. And right now I think we're failing as a society. We need to do better, and I'm committed to education funding in Southern Illinois.
Thank you very much, Jason Plummer. George Barber has the next answer to the question.
First, we have to stop unfunded mandates coming down from Springfield. That's one thing that just needs to be cut out. You're not going to pay for something you're asking to be done, then stop asking for it to be done. Secondly, when you talk about consolidation, people get nervous. And when we're talking about that, first of all, the taxpayer dollars have to stay in the district. They cannot go to Springfield, get skimmed off the top, and then come back here in a lesser amount. I think another term for that would be stealing. So we don't want that to happen. But when you talk about consolidation, people get nervous, and what you're really talking about is not having larger classrooms, not handicapping the teachers in their classrooms. You want to support them 100%. However, you do want to potentially streamline some administrative costs, ordering costs, so that if you streamline school systems, you can order at a bulk rate at a better rate. So again, consolidation is a tricky word. However, it may be needed in the administration level.
Thank you very much, George Barber. Raphael Him has the final answer to the question. Raphael?
Yeah, this is a great question. I'm actually working with Consolidate O'Fallon on this issue, where we have 4 school districts in a 10 square mile radius. So we need to consolidate the administration portion. You just need one superintendent per school per county. And that way you can lower our property taxes and keep our school, I would keep our school money local and make sure that doesn't go up to Chicago so we're not bailing them out. So consolidate the administration portion, keep the teachers' classrooms per regulations, and I think we'll be okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Raphael. Jason Plummer will have the first answer to the next question, and it deals with the opioid epidemic or pandemic, depending on who you speak to. Last night at the county board meeting here, as I mentioned in the state rep candidate forum, information was presented from the CDC that for every 100 people in the county, there were 138 opioid prescriptions a year. And then on top of that, we have the heroin issue that is the illegal side of that. Your thoughts on how we address this issue?
Well, I really wish I had more than 60 seconds for this one, because this is something I'm very, very passionate about, and I think it deserves a lot of time. Drugs are destroying our families and they're destroying our communities right now. I think there's a strong correlation between increased drug usage and decrease in quality jobs. We need those jobs, right? But when it comes to the drug issue, I'm a businessman. My family has our lumber company. I know how to create jobs. I'm not a law enforcement guy, so I surround myself with subject matter experts in these things. You know, I'm proud to be endorsed by Chris Smith, Fayette County Sheriff, Jeff Brown, Bond County Sheriff, State's Attorney in Effingham County, Brian Kibler, State's Attorney in Fayette County, a lot of other elected officials who work all the time on the opioid issue. And I work with them to make sure that there will be a voice in Springfield to get our local government, our local law enforcement agencies working with state agencies. The drugs aren't coming out of the backwoods of Marion County anymore. They're coming from Mexico to Chicago to Decatur to Champaign to St. Louis to Centralia to Salem. And we need to have the state working with our local law enforcement to tackle this issue, because I don't know if there's a bigger issue right now than the drug issue. It's destroying our families and we need to aggressively fight it.
Thank you very much, Jason Plummer. George Barber has the next answer to the question.
Bruce, the stat you gave is astounding to me. And it's also, I think, a ridiculous thing that doctors, physicians are evaluated on their pain control of their patients. So sometimes the insurance payments don't go out unless there's a high evaluation that doctors are giving good pain control to their patients. That's not a good way, that's not a healthy way to evaluate physicians. And last spring I broke 7 ribs, I flipped an ATV, I really thought it was the end of me. But you know, I was given prescription drugs, and I can see how addictive they are. I mean, after about a week or so, I couldn't drive myself around, and my daughter was driving, and I said, I got to stop this. I think I was pretty funny that week that I was on the drugs, but I was not doing a very good job of teaching and doing my work, just as Jason talked about. And so they're easily addictive. I weaned myself off, and one day the doctor said it wasn't a good idea. It is a problem, and we need to have tougher laws, especially on the prescriptions. And so that's it. Thank you. 10 seconds. Stop.
Okay, thank you very much, George Barber. Raphael Him has the next answer to the question.
In Clinton County, we've taken a two-step approach where we've empowered law enforcement, given them the power to arrest, and we also gave them Narcan to be able to help the victims. But as chairman of the health department, we're working on the resources to be able to bring counselors in, because there's a lot of people out there that's hurting. I mean, I understand, you know, we have a lot of issues in our society. We need to help those people. We just can't arrest everybody and put them in jail, because that's not the solution. So we're bringing in counselors and for people to be able to talk to, and also they're going to go out to the schools so we can hit it, hopefully before it starts, at the young children. I think that's the way to do it. And we need to empower law enforcement and bring in counselors and bring in parents. Because, you know, as a father of 3 daughters, as a parent, you never know what your kids are doing. So I mean, you always have to keep an eye out and have ways to diagnose the situation so we can get help. Thank you.
Thank you, Raphael Him, for your answer, and Ben Stratemeyer has the final answer to the question.
The opioid issue in Marion County, as well as many rural counties, is very complex. But the last thing we need is more law enforcement in arresting old people who's on prescription pain for arthritis and for painkillers. What we've seen in Marion County is an overprescription, and throughout southern Illinois is an overprescription of painkillers. Well, we really know that 75% of our opiate problems here locally start off as prescription drugs that are legal. We have a lot of a lot of legal drug addicts. So how we address this is we've got to address it through education, through our doctors. We have to address it to the patients to know that when you start taking painkillers, there's a really good chance that you can become an addicted personality. So when we deal with opiates, law enforcement's a part, but it's a small part. It starts off with part of the whole healthcare operation.
Thank you, Ben Stratemeyer. The first answer to the next question comes from George Barber, and we're going to stay on the drug topic here for a moment. There's been a push among especially some of the Democratic candidates running for governor to legalize small amounts of cannabis. I would like your thoughts on that.
When I was in high school, I was a phys ed major, but and even in college, being trained to be a teacher in health and physical education, I was taught that marijuana was a gateway drug to more addictive drugs. And so, Blaine spoke about this earlier, I am not in favor of legalizing recreational marijuana. I have sat with some police officers who have said it would help us in our job. I certainly want to be accessible and listen to them. But in my opinion, it is just a pathway down a more difficult problem. You're opening the door to a more difficult problem. So I am not for legalizing recreational marijuana.
Thank you, George Barber. The next answer to the question comes from Raphael Hill.
I'm not for it either, so thank you.
All right, that's nice and short. Ben Stratemeyer has the next answer to the question.
I think all of us have been asked this question before in the media, and I think all of us say no. We're not in favor of legalization of marijuana. Like many of the other candidates, I believe it's a gateway drug, and we should not encourage more vice, people driving around high. It just creates more public safety.
Thank you, Ben Stratemeyer. Jason Plummer has the final answer to the question.
Well, I'm adamantly opposed to the legalization of recreational marijuana. I think where you've seen it happen in Colorado and elsewhere, there's a lot of elected officials that wish they could go back and change their mind on that. You're seeing an increase in minor criminal activity. You're seeing an increase in car accidents. You're seeing a lot of problems, and then you have politicians say, well, we're going to get revenue from it. You know what? There's great opportunity in creating jobs and creating businesses in Southern Illinois where you can generate revenue instead of throwing another vice out there to take advantage of people in society. And guess what? The revenue measures, I know this will shock everybody, but they will never add up to what Springfield promises, and it's just more money for politicians to waste. We have to stop recreational marijuana before it becomes legal. It's a gateway drug. It'll cause problems for our children. It'll cause problems for our law enforcement. It'll cause problems in our communities. And as a person that, like I said, we employ over 1,000 families in the state of Illinois, that will cause huge problems for our employers and our workforce. We have to oppose that. So thank you.
Thank you, Jason Plummer, for your answer to the question. And Raphael Hill will have the first answer to the next question. And I think this was mentioned by everybody in your opening comments, but just to delve a little deeper. Illinois has seen especially a loss in manufacturing jobs. What would be your platform, and how would you work to turn that around?
Well, when I was in the Air Force, I did air refueling, so it's 2 airplanes flying together, getting there, getting gas. But we had the pilot's job was to maintain a stable platform, and that's what Illinois needs to do. And us as a government, we need to provide a stable platform, and so the business owners can trust what we're doing here and come back in. We also need to get rid of a ton of regulations, reduce our taxes, and show them that Illinois is worth investing in. Thank you.
Thank you, Raphael Hill. Ben Stratemeyer has the next answer to the question.
I probably have more manufacturing experience than any of the candidates here. I've worked with Rockwell International, which had a manufacturing operation in Centralia, North American Lighting here in Salem. I've been involved in a plant closure to bring work into Centralia, been involved in planning and helping look to place work. The number one thing in the manufacturing that is hitting is the workers' comp and a lot of the labor regulations that we have in Illinois. And what we really have to do is match very similar states. When we do that, our location to the center of the Midwest industry will really put us at a competitive advantage to the other states.
Thank you, Ben Stratmeyer. Jason Plummer has the next answer to the question.
Again, this is a question I wish I had more than 60 seconds on, and considering the fact that we own and operate a manufacturing company, I think that I probably have quite a bit of knowledge on this. There's a lot of things we need to do. Let's talk about taxes, right? We just raised taxes on families, we just raised taxes on businesses. That's going to harm people and push people out of the state. Let's talk about frivolous lawsuits from the Metro East, St. Clair County, Madison County, class action lawsuit capital of the world that's driving businesses out of here, especially manufacturing businesses. Let's talk about workers' comp, and everybody can get up here and talk about taxes or workers' comp or some of these things, but I experienced it firsthand. We need to address causation within the workers' compensation system. We need to talk about how come it's 3 times as expensive in Illinois as it is in Indiana, 2.5 times as expensive in Illinois as it is in Missouri. Illinois puts layer after layer after layer of bureaucracy and speed bump and red tape in front of manufacturers. And when I talk about the legislation and the regulations that land heavily on the Illinois economy, especially the Southern Illinois economy, I was talking about manufacturing because that used to be jobs in Southern Illinois and they've all left.
Thank you very much, Jason Plummer. George Barber has the next answer to the question.
Well, I agree with all 3 of the candidates that we have to make some changes to get small business and manufacturing businesses in. I have a small business, the basketball camp, and it's difficult for me to do the paperwork for that. We talked about causation with workers' comp. We definitely want to take care of the worker. We want to make sure that, if there's an injury or something, they're well taken care of. But the causation laws are written so loosely that it's difficult to understand them. Some years I pay in, some years I get a check back. I don't even know why. I appreciate the governor recently lowering the startup costs, the limited liability corporation startup costs. Things like that will help the small business owner. We have great workers in our part of the state. They are willing to work, and we need to put them to work and make the laws so that it's favorable for them to bring manufacturing in.
Thank you very much, George Barber. This will be our final question to the candidates, and it will be answered first by Ben Stratmeyer. And that deals with term limits, which seems to have become a hot topic. And want your opinion on term limits, and if there was no term limit law passed, if you would place one on yourself.
I support term limits, period. But they need to be applied to all the forms of government. Not just the state legislature, but they need to be applied to local government offices as well as the executive branch and judicial. It is real easy to pick out the legislature and say, oh, we gotta have term limits and they're the only people causing problems. Now, would I term limit myself? Absolutely. 52 years old. It'll be real easy to term limit me.
Thank you, Ben Stratmeyer. Jason Plummer has the next answer to the question.
Well, I talk about this issue a lot. I encourage people to go to my website, jasonplummer.com, where there's more information on it. The fact of the matter is we can't have people that just say, oh, I'm for term limits. We have to have people that have a track record of fighting for term limits. I helped a group called Fair Maps collect over 500,000 signatures so we could get gerrymandering out of here. Because one reason why we have career politicians is we have gerrymandered districts, right? So it's almost impossible to lose an election once you're an incumbent. We need term limits to make sure we don't send a bunch of career politicians to Springfield. We're supposed to be citizen legislators. We're supposed to represent the taxpayers. So, one way you create term limits is you eliminate the benefits of being a career politician. I think we need to lower pay for legislators. I think we need to get rid of pensions for part-time legislators that are paid for by full-time taxpayers. I've said I'm not going to take a pension as your part-time state senator. I don't think any legislator should. We need term limits, we need to get rid of pensions for legislators, and we need to have a fair map system so that career politicians aren't drawing the lines for themselves. Like I said, you can find more about that on my website, jasonplummer.com.
George Barber has the next answer to the question.
I agree with Ben and Jason on term limits. I would also term limit myself. I asked Senator McCarter, how long does it take? Because obviously you get a little bit better with things with time. You go in with altruistic values. you learn how to work, and you make it better. Kyle said, Senator McCarter said, 6 months is what you need to learn the ropes and to be able to work. So I would also term limit myself. I would also not take a pension. And I believe that it starts with leadership. So anything you do, you have to do it yourself and then ask for it to be done. It also needs to start with leadership, like term limits for leadership in the House and in the Senate. So I'm in agreement with term limits, and I would also term limit myself.
Thank you, George Barber. Raphael M. has the final answer to the question.
I also believe in term limits. You sound like an echo here, but you have to do term limits smartly. You just can't go up there and say, well, you're only going to do 2 terms. I think it takes a little bit more than 6 months to learn the job. I've been on the county board for 3 years, and you still learn different positions and you have to meet different agencies to know how to do the job right. And you don't want special interests to come in and take over. So I will term limit myself after 4 terms. And I'm not taking a pension, I'm not taking health care, no benefits, because I'm here to serve the people, not myself. Thank you. You go to voteforhim.net.
All right, thank you, Raphael M. We'll now begin our 2-minute closing statements, and we'll go in the opposite order that we did the opening statement. So George Barber has our first closing statement.
Again, thank you so much for having us here tonight, and I say that for all of us and myself. I believe that, I told the team the other day that why would you ever do something easy? I mean, you may accomplish it, but you don't build character. And God bless all of these men, Blaine, all the people that are running for office in here. It is a difficult task to run, and it is a very, very difficult task to take on some of the issues that we have in our state. So, I think it's going to take a couple of things. First of all, it takes a person that can cast vision. I mean, you never say, let's go skin up our knees and elbows. You say, let's go win a championship. Oh, and by the way, we're going to need to skin up our knees and elbows along the way. And then you have people on board. So it takes a person that can cast vision. It also takes a person that's positive and optimistic. I am both of those things. I am positive and optimistic. I'm certainly willing to listen to the people. So my pledge to you is that I would serve you, I would listen to you, I would fight for you, and I believe at this point in time in history, I am the best man for the job. So I would appreciate your vote on March the 20th. Thank you very much.
Thank you, George Barber. Jason Plummer has the next question.
Well, again, I'd like to thank the radio station, the theater board, the chamber for doing this. I'd like to thank all the citizens in the audience that came out. It's important that we have more people engaged in the governmental process. I think one reason why we're in the condition we're in right now in Springfield and the state of Illinois is because we took our eye off the ball. We are a state that's tremendously blessed in a lot of ways. I've talked about them: resources, workforce, educational institutions, our geographic location. But we have really messed up. And the way we've messed up and losing jobs, losing businesses, allowing drugs into our communities has really caused a lot of communities in Southern Illinois to shrink, caused the counties to shrink. We've caused families to move away. We've caused families to break up. And if we're really going to turn this state around, we have to start with our small towns and with our families. And we have to build from there. And so we have to put policies in place where they can feel that there's opportunity, that there's not despair, that there's a path forward. They can plant their roots, send their kids to school, and when they graduate, they'll be able to find a quality job. We have to send people to Springfield that understands the negative impact. Southern Illinois is already the heaviest tax part of the country. And what do they say in Springfield? Send us more money, raise our taxes, right? No, Springfield needs less money. The people need more money. Our property taxes need to go down, and we need more jobs so people can work. People in Southern Illinois want to work, but we're not providing them the opportunities. I'm a businessman. We have RP Lumber Company. We employ a lot of people. I'm going to go to Springfield, take those same values so we can create that environment where jobs are plentiful in Southern Illinois. On top of that, I think we've lost our way as a society. I think that we've allowed a lot of the values and the traditions that really made this country great go to the wayside. I'm strongly pro-life. Like I said before, I'm endorsed by the Illinois Family Institute, Illinois Federation for Right to Life. I'm proud of my faith, and I'm going to make sure that my faith guides me in Springfield. I encourage everyone to take a look at our website, jasonplummer.com, learn more about the candidates, and see who has a track record of fighting for the people of Southern Illinois, not just on the jobs issue and the fiscal issue, but on the social value issues that we hold dear. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Jason Plummer. Ben Stratemeyer has our next closing statement.
I want to thank my hometown community. I'm from Marion County. I'm local. I'm the Marion County Republican Chairman. I've been working for politics for several years to help bring conservative, social, and fiscal conservative issues here to the county. We've done a good job here in Marion County. The last 2 election cycles, the Republican has not lost. As for me, a very conservative agenda. 1, 2 TRA. First Amendment, Second Amendment, and tax relief now. We know that our taxes are too high. We know that our property taxes are too high. We have an opiate problem, and part of it is just coming back to very conservative issues. Socially, I'm 100% pro-life. I'm an evangelical Christian, and I believe that religion and faith will go a long way in solving our problems. Thank you.
Thank you, Ben Stratemeyer. Our final 2-minute closing comment comes from Raphael Hill.
Again, I would like to thank everybody for coming out and for this opportunity. And I want to let you know I'm humbled to be up here, because if you look at my past and the destiny that led me here, it's amazing that my father, who came here legally in search of hope or opportunity, raised 2 sons, and now I'm here with the opportunity to be your next state senator. I mean, to me, that's what America's all about. My father taught me that in this country, no matter your background, you can do anything you want. And that's why I'm here. I'm here to fight for you, to fight for the citizens, to fight for my daughters, to show them that they're going to have a better future. And that's what I'm here. I'm going to lead that, not only for my daughters, but for your children as well. I'm here for people like Gary, who owns a small mechanic shop in New Baden. He's having a hard time with his business. He's kind of trapped. His taxes went up about $3,500. He can't hire another person because of all the red tape. But now he's having problems making ends meet. And we talk and we're trying to find solutions, and that's why I'm here. And also, like I said, we've created a godless society, and we need to reverse that. We need to reverse the track we're on. And I could lead that path. So if you believe in the sanctity of life and the taxpayers should not be paying for abortions, I'm going to ask you to vote for it. If you agree that we need to cut spending and not raise taxes, I'm going to ask for your vote on March 20th. And if you believe that we need to put Americans first, and not those who came here illegally and broke our laws, I'm going to ask you to vote for him. So I humbly ask for your vote on March 20th. I'm Raphael Hill. Thank you.
And let's give a big hand to all 4 of our Senate candidates. I want to thank everybody for joining us here at the Salem Theater and listening on the radio and through social media. We'll have the forum up in various capacities, so if you want to listen again or missed part of it, you'll be able to hear it again. And I want to thank all of our candidates who took part in the forum tonight, and also the Salem Chamber of Commerce and the Salem Theater Board for helping to sponsor the program tonight. And of course, the biggest thing that needs to be done is still ahead if you haven't already voted early, and that's getting out to the polls next Tuesday. It'll be open from 6 a.m. to 7 p.m. And of course, you can depend on WJBD and WSIQ for election results. From the Salem Theater, a very pleasant good evening.